Welcome back to Bad Days. I know you're tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of talking about it, but we have to wrap up the Soup situation because he put out a statement, Boss Logic put out a statement, and then he followed up with a video. TLDR, Soups kind of doesn't take accountability. Boss Logic, like a boss, comes out, takes a lot of responsibility, apologizes publicly. But we're going to get into all of that in this video, and this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual. What we're going to do is we're going to play by play, watch all of Soups' whole entire apology or we need to talk ... video. And we're going to go at it beat for beat, bar for bar, so we address every single point that he makes. We're also going to read the article from the rap. I think it's really important to get the context of what started this whole entire situation. Like, what was the reason all of this had to go down? And the rap's piece is kind of at the center of it. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. But yeah, get ready for a very jam-packed video. Let's start by reading some statements. So let's start with Brad's statement. Brad hits us with as I said the other day, friends grow apart, relationship ends, collaborations fall through. This is a part of life. It happens every single day and people move on. Adversity is guaranteed in any relationship. Communication is pivotal to figure out issues or miscommunications when they occur one way or another. I was surprised and grateful that Boss Logic reached out a few days ago. We had a great conversation, agreed that this situation was completely unnecessary and it should have been handled differently. Mistakes were made and we will all grow from this experience. I wish Boss Logic and the other people involved in the situation the best moving forward, which is exactly what I'd like to be able to do now. So Brad says that. My boy Boss comes in clutch and transparently. Guys, I talked to Boss privately too, and he was incredibly sweet about all of this. In the interim, since my video dropped, I spoke to Straw Hat Goofy for a while. We had a good 2-hour phone call. We had a great time. I don't know if you guys know this, but me and Straw Hat are actually good friends. And Straw Hat's feelings in the situation were the same as everybody else's. Straw Hat was mentioned in the article because the reporter had taken Straw Hat's anonymous claims, and they decided to put a name to it by saying it was a 30-year-old, 2.7 million followers, which only fit the bill of Straw Hat. It was ridiculous to say the least, but that's what you get. Straw Hat and I had a good talk about it. He just doesn't want to deal with it, but he wishes everybody the best, and we all kind of came to a great understanding. Boss Logic and I talked about it afterwards too. Wonderfully kind guy. And then after that, he dropped this statement. I read Brad's latest article and I had to reach out even though I was advised not to. I did not care and I wasn't going to be on the sideline while watching somebody hurting. So I did just that. We had a good conversation about the past and moving forward. Mistakes were made in handling this and could have been quickly done with a talk. We both got hurt. They told me, time will fix you, be patient. I came to terms with this when I was a patient. Life is way too short to hold on and let this eat me up, and it only clicked to me when someone feels the same way I do. Why would I wish this upon anyone else? I have the option to mend it, so I did just that. We may never be able to fix this bridge, but that's okay. But I'm not going to stop you from building new ones, especially learning from the past. Everyone at a capacity deserves a second chance, especially in the industry that will chew you up and spit you out in a blink. I wish you the best, Brad. Cheers in life and your career. And I think that statement, super, super important from Boss Logic for a number of reasons. One of them being the only person who has a written agreement saying that they are represented by Brad Lambert is Boss Logic. Brad negotiated quite a few deals with Boss Logic that actually got his foot in the door with Marvel. And I think Boss's art speaks for itself. What an incredible guy. And it's incredible that he would come out and say this and be so public about it. I would read Supes' statement off of his Twitter, but I'm going to have to Google it because he blocked me on Twitter during this. He actually blocked me on Twitter, then he blocked my Bad Days account on Twitter, and then he went on TikTok and he blocked me there too. So I think I really, really hurt Matt Ramos' feelings, but besides the point, I didn't do it to hurt his feelings. I did it to talk about the truth of what happened in this situation. So Matt responded, here is my response to the recently self-published articles. Please note that the platform did enforce the deletion of private messages and screenshots posted out of context and unfortunately causing others harm and pain. The medium.com made Brad take down he said you would either take down the post or remove the screenshots. So Brad removed the screenshots from the post. I think to say they were out of context is kind of ridiculous. A lot of the messages seem to be initiated by Matt, but yeah, he's right about that. They were taken down. I do think that this first sentence is made to just discredit Brad in any way he can. So again, not recognizing the fault of like what he did wrong in the situation. In full transparency, for the bettering of my health, career, both business and personal, I did end my relationship with my previous representation. The detailed and multiple reasons why are not going to be shared publicly. That is not the way I conduct my business. Now, I think that's really important. First of all, representation, right? I was a realtor for years, and there were people that are like, hey, I'm going to buy a house from you. But until they signed on the dotted line our agency agreement, I was not representing them in the field of real estate. Maybe I did them favors. Maybe I helped them talk to banks. Maybe I helped move the pendulum forward, but I didn't represent them in a legal sense. And I think that's really important to say here. Matt keeps saying that Brad is his representation, but you have to legally, be represented by him. I also think it's important to say, he says this is not the way that I conduct my business. The Brad situation being that it is like the way it is, why did all this transpire the way it transpired is because Matt brought it into public focus. This wasn't a public situation until Matt and the Rap made the articles that they made, as well as Matt going privately to message brands. So I think that's important to say. If it's not how you conducted business, it should have never been how you conducted business. Me deciding to move on from my previous management, again, a term that you use regarding people you have like a legal binding contract with, not somebody who's helping you with deals, and definitely being a pivotal instrumental help, but management needs to be a word that we're using for people when they have signed on the dotted line. Me deciding to move from my previous management was another hard decision to make. One I did not take lightly, but one that needed to be made, and I do not regret that decision the slightest. I honestly wish my previous representation health and happiness. To respond in any other manner will only create an ongoing feud that will only lead to further unhappiness. This is not going to happen on my part. The difficult lesson I learned is to allow myself not to be taken advantage of, obviously implying that Brad took advantage of him, to find my voice and speak up as the creator and the CEO of my brand like all other creators and storytellers are. I'm not the only one who experienced this by representation. There is many more just like me. I won't let the situation take any more from my life than it already has. I'm moving forward. And I think a lot of that, I just want you guys to know context for me and who I am as a person, because I'm repping Brad here. I'm reading this and I'm addressing the situation as somebody who is friends with Brad, somebody who has had amazing consulting sessions with Brad, and he's really helped, help my direction and my future and my career in so many instrumental ways. I think it's important to say that 9 out of 10 times I'm going to side with talent. I'm going to side with creators because I've been chewed up and spit out by agencies before. Agencies who signed me, put my 5 million, 6 million followers, whatever it was at the time, onto their website, but then didn't get me brand deals or took a bigger cut of deals than what they'd originally said they would. I've been scammed before. So I'm always, and I've had so many friends be scammed, so I'm always erring on the side of talent. But I think here, it's very clear of who you want to err on the side of. And then he hits us with moving across the country to Los Angeles at 19 with no family alongside me, no business relationships in Hollywood was the hardest decision I've ever made. I'm eternally grateful for the lessons I've learned, but I will not ignore my mistakes. But he doesn't tell you what his mistakes are. Again, woe is me. I move away from my family. A lot of people make that decision. He said he didn't have a single business relationship in Hollywood. He had Brad Lambert, the guy with industry contacts, who did help him. And Matt Ramos cannot deny it. Matt had the Nuvi deal where he was, in movie theaters across the country with Brad because Brad put them in contact. A lot of this, it's Matt's hard work. I will never deny that guy works really hard. But to say that it was just him is ridiculous. So he says he didn't have any business relationships. He obviously did, and it says a hard decision to leave your family. And then he refused to acknowledge what the actual mistakes were, but said he made mistakes. To add to that, I respect people in all areas of life, content creators, journalists, and all others in the industry. I admire the hard work and dedication it takes to succeed in all areas of the industry and beyond. I've apologized to those directly offended by my private messages, but I would also like to apologize publicly to you, my followers and fans, if there's anything I have said that may have hurt you in any way, shape, or form. So he talks about the industry thing. It's because during the article, it's made clear that Supes had disrespected an industry professional, an executive working at one of the bigger media companies, I do not want to say who it is, and called him a bitch. He called him a bitch in a very disgusting manner, as well as all the other things he was saying to other people. And a lot of people have been defending him, saying, oh, it was 18, it was just screenshots, blah, 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 blah. That was aggressively what is being put out there, that hey, guys, he was 18 years old, let it go. We all say mean things in private, and I think in fairness, we do all say some stuff in private, and that we won't necessarily want to be out in the public eye. That said, you do conduct yourself with a level of professionalism that I think Matt Ramos, a.k.a. Supes, as he wants to be called right here, he signs his name in the article as Supes and not as himself, don't fully understand. Yeah, the journey hasn't been easy. I've learned a lot and promise to be better. Wishing you all and your loved ones a happy, healthy holiday, right? Healthy and happy holidays. So that's Matt's statement. Plenty to unpack from just a statement. Originally, I was just going to cover Boss Logic's statement and kind of put a beautiful bow on this whole situation. But Matt dropped a video. So we're going to watch the video, and then simultaneously we're going to interject it with pieces of information I think are relevant to the situation. So let's get into it. Beautiful. You got to hit with the YouTube logo first and foremost. Inform, entertain, inspire.
What's up, guys? So today's going to be a different type of video. Today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. I've been seeing your comments on a ton of my social media platforms all over the place asking me to address some drama that has been going down on social media.
Again, he calls it drama, and I think it's a weird term to call accountability. There's a difference between accountability and drama, and cancel culture and accountability culture. This wasn't drama. This was you're being held accountable for ruining someone's life and almost causing the end of their life because you wanted to be petty.
And never in the history of my career do I ever want you guys to feel like you're being ignored. It's not who I am. It's not the type of creator I want to be. It's not the type of relationship we've built. We've come a pretty long way. You know, I started this channel when I was a 16-year-old kid in high school, and we've come a pretty long way since then, and we've quite literally grown up together. I love you guys with every fiber of my being. And towards the end of last week, I had released, a statement on social media giving my take on it, but I was raised in front of this camera right here. So I wanted to make this video, talk about the situation, and kind of have you guys see me, hear me, and feel me, as I say.
So what he means by that is if you scroll through his Twitter for 2 seconds, there is nothing but hate. Passionate hate for him. Every single post he has somebody ratioing him with the screenshots from the DMs, as well as saying talk about it. So he's saying that he's seen a lot of comments, he's seen a lot of accountability is what it feels like.
Say what I'm about to say. Look, I love you guys so much. You guys have truly changed my freaking life, and I'm gonna be a bit open here, a bit personal with you guys. And I want you guys to understand that this has been a situation that has tormented my family and I for over a year now. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to tell you guys that I refuse to give my previous representation any more of my platform than I already have around.
Previous representation. Again, a term used to describe somebody that you have signed on the dotted line. When I was a realtor, until people had signed their name under the agency agreement, the contract, that's not what that was. I was certainly helping them. I was certainly trying to be the guy that would be the person to sell them their house, but that's not what had happened until we signed on the dotted line. He's calling Brad his representation. I know for a fact Brad Lambert never signed on the dotted line and had a ironclad contract with Matt. And I'll go into why he probably should have for a lot of reasons, and maybe why he shouldn't have for other reasons, because there are things to hold Brad accountable for in this instance. Accountable being, he'll get into it, the Talent Agency Act, which Matt's going to talk about, and I'll talk about it when he talks about it.
A year ago, I had found the courage within myself to separate myself from my previous management. And then shortly after that happened, the rap had contacted me for a story, which was already an ongoing investigation. And they asked me to...
He says it's an ongoing investigation, but there's no proof to say that it was ongoing. Humberto Gonzalez, when he reached out to Brad, the author of this article, he reached out to him in January of 2022 and said he's been looking into him for months, which would have been the exact timeline. It would have been the exact timeline of when Matt split with Brad. That would have happened. They split in what I believe like October, and the rap hit up Brad with this article stuff in January, and then the article came out in February.
To share my story and share my experience. And at that point in time, I kind of felt a certain level of responsibility to share my story in hopes of saving other young and up-and-coming creators from being preyed on.
He doesn't address how they would be preyed on. He doesn't address, honestly, like anything there, but let's take a second and let's read the Rap's article. I'll actually read you their article and we can talk about it, and then we'll get back to the rest of this video. I had to find this on Yahoo because the Rap actually has a paywall in front of it. But TikTok stars revolts against leeching Hollywood manager. I effed up by trusting him exclusive. In hindsight, Cody Abdo probably should have noticed the red flag sooner. His overeagerness, the overselling, the overpromising, but the 35-year-old up-and-coming Australian graphic designer had been so overwhelmed by the feverish pitches from Brad Lambert, how if Abdo signed him as his personal manager, he'd soon have Hollywood all over clamoring for his posters and one-sheets, and Abdo overlooked the early warning signs. They use his first and last name instead of his creator name. His name is Boss Logic, incredibly talented graphic designer, one that Brad had worked with to get him deals with, I think, Spider-Man Far From Home, Endgame, and potentially It, and then maybe It Chapter 2, and then I think he'd work with the studio themselves on that. I don't know the full story on that situation, but yeah, they don't use Boss Logic. They use his actual name here, but let's keep going. Until that is the meeting at Disney. This was 2019. The studio was gearing up for the release of Avengers Endgame. Boss Logic, who had already made a splash on social media for his superhero fan heart, attracting 2.2 million followers under his own nom de Instagram, Boss Logic, had landed a meeting on his own with Disney's president of marketing, Asad Ayaz. But Lambert had insisted on tagging along to the pitch to pitch his new client for the biggest job of his career, making an art poster for the biggest movie of the year. I've yet to see evidence to say that this actually happened. I've yet to see anything, but that is a statement. That's what they're insinuating happened. Then Lambert started talking, and the meeting immediately veered off the rail. Brad told Assad that he was Robert Downey Jr.'s manager. Boss Logic recalled, suddenly the room grew quiet. According to Boss Logic, Assad looked at Lambert and told him he knew Downey's team and had worked with them, and he had never seen Lambert's face nor heard his name. There was a long, awkward silence for the first time since Boss Logic had met him. Lambert struggled to find something to say. He started to stumble with his words, Boss Logic said. That's when I knew I effed up by trusting him. It was the first time I actually facepalmed in a meeting. None of that happened. None of that happened. This is Asad Ayaz's private Instagram, by the way. He only has 950 followers, doesn't follow a lot of people, very private guy. Look who he follows. He follows Brad Lambert, Boss Logic, and a Disney executive. That's it. Now, you guys tell me, why would the president of marketing at Disney continue to follow and interact with a guy who lied to him so ridiculously by saying he was Robert Downey Jr.'s manager? First of all, who the fuck would be dumb enough to come up with a lie that ridiculous? It is such a ridiculous lie. It doesn't make any sense. Brad did work on Robert Downey Jr.'s team. He was not Robert Downey Jr.'s manager, and he would never in a billion years say that. That's ridiculous. And again, that is just a statement. That is a statement with no evidence. It's just what Boss Logic had said to the rap. It was not the last. In fact, many of Lambert's former clients, including Matt Ramos, aka Supes, a 20-year-old TikTok star with 2.7 million followers, tell similar stories before head-slapping behavior by Lambert, ranging from the shocking credit hogging to shameless self-promoting to botched contract negotiations. At best, they paint him as a charming but bumbling wannabe player with a creatively padded resume and a largely imaginary contact list of industry figures. At worst, they say he's a Hollywood shark who lures impressionable young social media talented with the promises of riches and glory and then leverages their hard-earned followings to boost his own personal fame and fortune. Fame and fortune. Fame and fortune. Yo, Brad and Lambert. Famous Brad Lambert. 38,000 followers on Instagram. Fame and fortune, though, right? Hella famous. Let's look up Brad Lambert over here on Twitter. Let's check out how many followers. 5,931 followers on Twitter. Let's check out Brad's TikTok page. 38,000 followers. Wow. The most famous guy you've ever heard of, I guess. That's not fame. That's not fortune. And I know, but I'm a friend of Brad. I'll let you know his financial situation. It's not fortune, that's for sure. And I want to talk to you guys about how much money he made while working with Supes, and we'll address it all while we're going through this article. But yeah, and I've actually worked with the man. I've spent time with the man. At no point was he flexing contacts or promising and guaranteeing money. There's not an industry in the planet, no matter who you are, that would ever guarantee a deal, because nothing in this industry is guaranteed like that. I live in Australia, Boss Logic told the Wrap, and this was my first time I let a snake this close to me. Of course, all of this above is one side of the story. Lambert, 33, vehemently denies any wrongdoings, describing the complaints against him as the whining of inexperienced millennials who don't understand how Hollywood works. It really is hurtful, he told the Rat. I've always done what I could for everyone else, helping them get social media followers and exposure, helping them build their brands and make the most money they've made on deals. These complaints just break my heart. And you can tell there's stuff cut from these statements. I know for a fact Brad sent, it wasn't just a statement that Brad had made. Brad sent evidence to the Wrap. He sent a lot of it. He sent a Google Drive folder full of evidence to the Wrap, disputing a lot of the claims they're going to make in this article, and they ignored a lot of it. It's not hard in Hollywood to find clients who are dissatisfied with the representation. Swing a dead cat and you'll likely hit a couple. There's a difference here, though. This isn't merely a sheer number of Lambert's clients' unsatisfied customers nor their eagerness to complain about him publicly, but the environment in which Lambert and his ex-clients operate, the intersections of new media and old media where YouTube, TikTok, Instagram influencers bump up against Hollywood agents and managers who have been harvesting and exploiting talent the same way for decades. is full of career traps and other personal professional hazards. And as Hollywood agencies and managers pivot towards the online world, it has become an increasingly crowded crossroad. So, is Lambert a Hollywood barracuda? Maybe. The town is swimming with him. Are his ex-clients a tad clueless about the ways of Hollywood? Very probably yes. What happens when one meets the other? The obvious, nothing good. The trouble began, as it often does on social media. This was in 2018 when Boss Logic was starting to take off on his superhero art, his specialty turning fan-based casting rumors into over-the-top portraitures like his rendition of Nick Offerman as Omni-Man and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven the Hunter. At that point, Boss Logic's Instagram was brimming more than 500,000 followers and getting liked by the Russo brothers, the filmmaking power siblings behind the last two Avengers blockbusters. That's when DMs from Lambert began to arrive. He started off by saying, "I just want to make you shine in the field you're in." And he started by throwing out subtle references about representing Robert Downey Jr. and how he'd worked at Warner Brothers and other companies. He had worked on Downey Jr.'s team, and he had worked at Warner Brothers. And again, Boss Logic has already recanted his statement publicly and said that what he said here is not the truth. He's already said that. He was hurt, so he made hurtful statements to push back on it. But he's already publicly said this isn't the truth. Yet, if you look up old Humberto Gonzalez, the film reporter at The Wrap, you'll see that many of his recent messages were backing up Supes. You guys can't see this tweet because Supes has me blocked, but he said, "I'm going to be with you to the end of the line, pal." And then he says, "The irrefutable fact that Brad Lambert conveniently left out in his poor me post that he broke California labor laws. He even owned up to it, incriminating himself in the Nicki Swift post, hence admitting legal liability. It shows that he's the clown he is." This got 13 likes, by the way. How clueless. California is a two-party consent state, which is why Medium made him take down the screenshots, which we couldn't use, and especially the YouTube embedded voicemail from the young lady, which I'm sure he didn't have consent for. Good optics there, Brad. Good luck working with another woman in a post-Me Too town after violating her privacy. Our story stands. It is factually accurate, especially the reporting that Brad is a bumbling wannabe player with a creatively padded resume and a largely imaginary contact list of industry contacts. That's the statement Humberto made after everything else had come out, including Boss Logic's statement refuting all of this. But let's continue, shall we? Shall we continue down this road? In fact, Lambert had indeed briefly worked with Team Downey, just not as the actor's rep. In January 2015, he was hired in the development intern, but the job only lasted about 5 months, according to a rep from Downey's company, who would not reveal the reasons for Lambert's departure. After Team Downey, Lambert had worked at Warner Brothers, doing a 2-year stint in studio digital marketing, but when asked about his previous employment, Lambert said, "My work history with Team Downey and Warner is not relevant in the story in any capacity, and that's all he'll say about it," in an email response to the Rap's questions. According to two insiders with knowledge of Lambert's employment at Warner Brothers, he was fired. Again, we're not showing receipts or evidence. We're just making statements. Brad was let go from Warner Brothers with a number of other people. It was budget cuts. It was letting go of people who weren't necessarily on the team at the time. And I think all of us have gone through a situation like that at some point in our lives. And he did. His time at Team Downey was never meant to be the end-all be-all of his career. It was meant to springboard him into his next chapter. That was the whole point. That's why Jimmy Rich got him the job in the first place. In any case, by 2018, Lambert set himself up for it as an independent Hollywood manager looking for young talent to represent. Boss Logic became his first client. I found Boss Logic social media years ago. Lambert recalled the courtship of Boss Logic. "I approached him as a manager. I saw the potential of getting him to work with studios and brand. I finalized the Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home, and the John Wick 4, and several other studio and brand campaigns." Lambert actually did seal some deals for Boss Logic, just not good ones. For instance, with Lambert's help, Boss Logic was hired to create what he thought was a one-sheet for Sony's Spider-Man Far From Home, which he was paid $15,000 for, which I was fine with, the artist said. But then a fan on Twitter sent the one sheet up on a billboard, which he was less fine with. He'd heard from a friend at Sony that the graphic designers were paid upwards of $80,000 for billboards. Again, this isn't corroborated. This is just a statement that is made. The Wrap has examined Lambert's contract landed with Sony and discussed it with outside agents, fellow deals, and it does indeed repeat that Boss Logic was underpaid with additional fees for the artwork and the billboard and the home media and left uncompensated is far more problematic. That is the very fact. Lambert was negotiating deals at all. That's not what managers are supposed to do. Incredible artwork, by the way, by Boss Logic. I actually own this DVD box set. Again, I cannot praise him enough. I think this looks incredible. But Guys, they're just making statements. They're just making statements. They're not actually bringing any substantial evidence. According to the Los Angeles Talent Agency Act, only licensed agents are allowed to negotiate contracts. Dude, no one fucking cares about this. No one has ever cared about this. They're bringing this up. The Los Angeles Talent Agency Act is an act that was like weirdly pieced together, kind of trying to rope internet personalities as well as like regular actors and stuff. It's not a well done thing. Dude, I can't tell you the amount of creators that have gotten 6-figure, 5-figure deals with personal managers, aka friends who are good at writing emails and negotiating contracts rather than agencies. Nobody but Supes, who brings this up now, and The Rap, who brought this up in their article, gives a shit about this. And I can tell you that as a matter of fact. It is insane. And I'd like to keep reading this, but I'm realizing that this we've already gone over 30 minutes of me just covering this, and we haven't even finished Supes' whole piece. But as far as how much money Brad made off of Supes, he made less than $3,000. Less than $3,000 the entire time he was working off Matt Ramos. To say he got fame and fortune is insane. But to double back to the Boss Logic situation, Boss has already recanted his statements. He's already publicly apologized and made amends. Would a guy make amends if that's really what he'd done, if he'd lied about being, Robert Downey Jr. manager? Why would Boss Logic continue to work with Brad after he lied to the president of marketing at Disney? I wouldn't keep working with a guy who did something that stupid in front of so many people. That's fucking insane.
And I did, guys. I did my job. The story from The Rap was never about personal drama. It was about how a man violated the Los Angeles Talent Agency Act and California labor laws. I did not.
California labor laws makes it seem like he was doing like illegal work. No, he didn't abide by a law that no one had fucking heard of until this article, and to this day, nobody gives a shit about.
Not write the story. I did not make content about it.
Okay, that's something I really want to touch on. He said he didn't write the story. He didn't make contact about it. Wait for it.
Simply answered a few questions alongside a few other people who had similar experiences, and I did so truthfully. And over the
Okay, right? He promoted this like fucking crazy on Twitter. He retweeted everybody. He posted it all over his Instagram, and everybody I knew, friends that had nothing to do with this side of the internet, right? Friends that I knew from the YouTube Shorts creator community were posting this on his story being like, oh my God, we're so proud of you, Matt, for getting out of this. Also, right, he said he didn't make content about it, right? I actually think The Rap used this article to launch their presence on TikTok, like they used to springboard them into social media relevance. The Rap's TikTok presence, they have 239,000 likes and 2,500 followers. If you take a look, videos kind of do mid. There's a Joel McHale video, 54,000 views. But let's power scroll. Let's go to the bottom of their page. And here we get a video about Tom Holland, 84 views, 170 views, 1,000 views, 709 views. A Morena Baccarin video with 30,000 views. That's fair. Morena Baccarin, national treasure. 49,000 views. Supes.
Well, I originally met Brad back during the pandemic. And
a 3-minute or 2-minute and 39-second video of Matt talking about the situation with The Rap. Their next big video, 50,000 views, also Supes. I literally think, and if you look at, The Rap is following 10 people. I can't show you here because it's on the desktop version, but Supes is one of the only people they were when they made this page, he was the only guy they were following. So I personally think The Rap used Supes to launch their presence on social media or launch their presence in the short form space.
For the past week or so, a lot of people on social media have decided to make this story and this drama all about me. But guys, I am one of many. There are many more just like me. There are many more than just me.
They made it about you because nobody else involved in the article was Brad Lambert's best friend and went on family vacations with him. It was only you, Matthew Ramos, that did that. Only you. And also, on top of that, Boss Logic was the big heavy hitter in that article. He pulled out. Straw Hat Goofy wasn't really involved. He said what he said, and Straw Hat and I actually talked about his comments before I put out a tweet, but Straw Hat said, what I said about Brad is pretty much what you say about everybody you ever meet in Hollywood until you get to know him. That's what we agreed on. So him saying that there are other people involved and he was just showing their stories.
And, there were some people that decided to never share their story at all. And truthfully, I get it now. I get why they never decided to do that, because they wanted to completely stay out of this. This has been a very traumatic situation, and it's not something any of us want to really revel in anymore. So to see a lot of you guys,
He was reveling in it. He was celebrating it. The things that I heard about how excited he was about this whole situation, it's ridiculous. Also, let's go back. He said that he didn't want young talent to be preyed upon by him, which is why he did that. Then tell me why I DM'd Matt in June 15th, and I actually also DM'd him previously. I unsent that DM, and I said, hey, Matt, my name is Hassan. I've been working with Brad Lambert since December, and I've been hearing all these stories, and I would just love to hear your perspective. Person to person. We have hella mutual friends. I just want to hop on a call, hear your story. I'm really trying to not take sides and just see everything for what it is. Working with Brad as in we were planning stuff out, and the article happened, so everything's been put on hold. He's just a friend. I asked him that. I personally reached out. I reached out to Matt Ramos, and that actually, I did an interview with Brad beforehand, and I didn't put the video out until after I talked to Matt, until after I was going to get the opportunity to talk to Matt. Not only did I do this, but I had other friends who are mutual friends of ours reach out to him and say, hey, can you give my friend a call? He's really concerned. And he told all of them, no, he didn't respond to half of them, but he wasn't interested. He was so interested in helping young creators, right? Well, I'm a young creator. Wasn't interested in helping me, was he? He wasn't. So does that really add up? Does that feed into the greater narrative of what he's talking about? No. It feeds into this narrative that Supes is full of trash. I also heard that this incredible creator named Charles on TikTok put out this whole story. Matt blocked him immediately, but before he put out Brad's side of the story, he reached out to several of Matt's friends to get him to comment on it because he wanted to hear both sides of the story. And Matt basically told him to piss off. Those are Charles's words. He told him to piss off. This was supposed to be a 20-minute video, and we've gone off the rails. We're 40 minutes in, but let's keep going.
You know, in my comments asking me to apologize. If you guys knew the full details, you guys would not be asking me to apologize.
So why don't you tell the full details? If not in public, then in private to guys like me. Instead of blocking me on everything, why didn't you reach out creator to creator? We have mutual friends. Why wouldn't you reach out man to man and talk to me? And I think the answer to that is pretty goddamn clear. It's because he's lying.
Once the rap article eventually came out in February of this year, I started to get DMs and messages from people I didn't even know existed or had prior connection to this situation at all. These were people that experienced similar things as well, and in the description of this video, you guys can actually check out the full article that shares the story of Benjamin Farron, who had his own experience. So everyone's trying to make...
I'm not going to speak to Benjamin Farron situation. I don't want to speak to that. I don't know about that one personally, and I'm sure there's a story behind it, but that's not my position to speak on. I'm going to talk about what I know about.
Make this situation and this drama all about, you know, the downfall of Supes, but I am one of many here, guys. I have zero interest in releasing a ton of private information. It's not going to be the way I conduct myself as a creator, and I already fulfilled my responsibility in trying to protect other creators.
You did not.
At this point in time,
you literally didn't,
with that
Matt.
representation, then so be it. If you want to believe that representation, then so be it. If people want to paint me as the villain on social media, then so be it, you know, because I'd rather be a villain to the public than not being able to sleep knowing that another young kid is being manipulated and taken advantage of because I never said anything. So
taken advantage of how? Manipulated how? To what end? It sounds like he helped you get some of the biggest brand deals I've ever heard of anybody your size getting. And then and gave you industry contacts that you then used to let your career flourish, and then you destroyed his life.
I will not give this situation any more than I already have, and I truly wish my previous representation all the health and happiness in the world moving forward. But guys, now I'm turning the page. I am done with this, and I am moving forward, moving on with my life. I freaking love every single one of you guys, and can't thank you guys enough for blessing my life in the way that you have. We've come a damn long way, and we will continue to reach newer heights, especially with the coming new year. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching this.
Okay, I'm done with this. I also like to say the top comment on it. Let's refresh the page and see how many likes the old top comment has. Top comments from your boy with, oh no, somebody else took me out. But I was a top comment for a while with 83 likes. It's crazy. All this would happen. You still think you're the hero protecting people. You left a man that you called friend at death's door. A normal person, a normal response would be to quit working with them and cut ties, not to do what you did, Matt. That is the situation as it is now. That is 45 minutes of my life covering this that I'm not going to be getting back, and probably an hour in editing this video. But I think it was important that you guys got the full story on this. Matt, I'm going to talk directly to you. I think you watched the first video, which is why you blocked me on everything. So maybe you'll get a chance to see this one. Maybe someone who you know will send this to you. You're not above redemption. You're not above learning from your mistakes. You're 20. You're 21 almost. You're young. You get to be dumb. You get to make mistakes. But you have to be held accountable. You have to have people hold a mirror to you and show you what you are doing. You can't just go on a rant and try and destroy people's lives when you see fit. That's not okay. You cost a lot of to completely undercut what you did to Brad is insane. I mean, I was on the phone with him. I heard the pain in his voice, the heartbreak in his voice. It wasn't just anger at you for doing an article. It was brokenheartedness at losing a friend and have a friend turn on him the way that you turned on him, Matt. That's what happened from all of this. I'm disgusted by all of this, man. I'm disgusted by it. And you know what? You haven't blocked me on Instagram. Feel free to DM me and give me a call, and we can talk about it. Maybe I'll take your side if I know the real truth. But as it stands, Brad came out with receipts. Brad has shown himself to be a man true of his character. He's not shown himself to lie. He's not shown himself to tweet about Mephisto in the middle of the situation. He's shown himself to be a man of stand-up and stand-out character, along with men like Boss Logic, who publicly come out against guidance to make statements clearing up what happened. And then there's you, Matt. It's you who would not take responsibility. I need to edit this to put this out tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. My name's Hassan. I sincerely hope your bad days are your best stories, unless you're Ned Fulmer from the Try Guys or Matt Ramos, a.k.a. Supes, because then you can go fuck yourself. Thanks for watching.